Hello ladies, we're doing a manger scene today. It's kind of a manger behind a beam of light or something. I wanted to let you know, we're going to show you a picture of all the paints I'm using. I'm using a white, black, blue, orange, and yellow. All right, it doesn't necessarily have to be the exact same shades as mine because you can change it up as you want. One thing to note, I'm also using a thing of water in order to clean your brushes and also to thin your paint if you need to, and also just a roll of toilet paper. You're gonna not toilet paper, paper towels. Okay, so we got a whole bunch. Yeah, it's a good idea to have a bunch of those because what you do is when you wash your brush, you take it out, and then you need to dry it off with the paper towels. Okay. Otherwise, if you don't do that, it starts thinning your paint down more and more, and it gets harder and harder to use it. Okay. So, with this, it's important to remember with any kind of art that it's all in the eye of the beholder. Okay. So yours does not have to look exactly like mine, and mine doesn't have to look exactly like yours. All right. So if yours ends up being a much bluer outline, or the star is a little bigger, or a little bit more bright, or this is yellow instead of white, it really doesn't matter, okay? Because art's all in the eye of the beholder, all right? So we're just gonna start off. I'm gonna try and keep this video down to about 30 minutes, all right? But we're gonna see. That you can start and stop it. If it takes you longer, it's all good. So what I'm doing first is all we're using are 2 of these little foam brushes, okay? These foam brushes are really easy to use. You don't need expensive paints to do this picture. I did this entire picture with just foam brushes, okay? So what you're gonna do first, one rule with painting is if you want something light, like right here, you need to start there first. You don't start with the dark parts and then try and put light behind it, okay? Once the dark is on the canvas, it's really difficult to get it out. So you wanna start with the lightest portion of the picture and then work your way out, and then we will add the manger in the very end. Okay, so first off, you're going to grab a bunch of white. So I do it about like this. I don't know if you can see that. All right, so a lot of white, and just choose wherever you want it in here. You can go a little higher if you want, a little lower, it doesn't really matter, it's up to you. I'm just going to go off of this. So you want to start and you want to put a bunch of white right where you want the lightest portion of the painting to be. All right. So it's going to use it up pretty quick. And you just go kind of circular motions. You see how this is more of a circle? So do kind of circular motions. You want to definitely, you can't even really see that, I'm sure. I can barely see it, and I'm standing right next to it. That's fine. This is just going to get the canvas wet. It's going to take a lot of the texture of the canvas away and add more of a paint texture. So I'm getting more paint here. I'm going to go out a little further. All right. Keep on going out. So right now, you probably can't see it on there, but there's about this much of a white round bowl of just plain white. Okay, this is your foundation. Okay, everything goes out from here. All right, so the next thing is you look on here, you have a lot of yellow streaks going around, a lot of orange streaks going around. So on the picture of the paint, you'll see there's a little bit more yellow than there is orange and blue, because you use more yellow than you do the other two. Okay, but if you don't have enough yellow, that's fine, because a little bit of yellow goes a long way. You put a little bit more white, just get this a little more wet. You want it to be a little bit wet so that when you start to blend it, it blends easier. All right, so let's go a little more. Okay, so there's that. Now, you don't need to clean the brush in between these right now. You can just go directly into the yellow. With the yellow, I'm only putting about this much on right here. I don't know if you can see that, but that's as much yellow as I'm putting on, okay? So this, you want to use the sharp edge of this, all right? And if you want this part to be white, then obviously do not put it there. I would start up here and just start doing just lines of yellow like this, just kind of like this. Just bring it around. You bring it down here, it's fine, it's all good. All right, put the yellow up here. Now the yellow is going to mix with the white, okay? You don't have to clean your brush, and just keep on going. Just slowly work your way in, but don't totally cover up the white. Because if you do, then you're going to have a yellow in the middle instead of a white. All right, it doesn't have to be perfect. And then you just slowly kind of make your way out. All right, make your way out a little more. If you get this way, see I've not put any more paint on here. Just like lightly, just go lightly, because when you go lighter, it kind of makes it blends it a little closer in, so it's not much of as much of a line. Now you see, the dog's barking. You hear somebody. Now see, with this one, you see there's some streamers in here, all right? It's not all solid yellow, okay? Look at mine, it's pretty close to all solid yellow, all right? So what you can do is, you can either put more, little bit of yellow, just put it right there on the edge again. Just right there on the edge. You can just, these ones if you want, you can just leave them. Just do a little, so it kind of gives more of a, kind of that effect where it's a streak instead of just blending it. All right. With a lot of these, less is more. You don't always want to go crazy on this, because when you do, sometimes it just gets swallowed up in everything. So if you, I don't know if you can see mine, but there's a lot of white sections, all right, that aren't all yellow. Now there's a little bit of orange in here. I'm going to grab a little bit of orange, just a little bit. So if you look at my brush, I have not cleaned the brush yet. It's still the same brush. I've not put any water on it yet at all. So you see this right here? So now you have white, you have yellow, you have orange. It's all on the same brush. I have not cleaned anything yet, okay? So that's as much as you need. And you see, there isn't much orange in here. Not really much. You can add more if you want. It's all up to you. With these, you want these streaks to kind of show. So you got a little bit of orange here. All right. A little bit sharp right now, and you kind of bring them out. And as the brush leaves your, and as the paint leaves your brush, you'll see that they start blending a little easier. All right, but see, we haven't touched anything in the middle here. All right, to keep a nice focus on that middle part. With this way, the eye is automatically directed into the subject, which is the manger. Okay. So here we go. I'm gonna let that dry a little bit. All right. That's good enough right there. All right. Like I said, it can be, you can add more, you can do less. It's totally up to you. All right. You can blend it a whole bunch where it's really blended in there, or you can just leave it kind of raw. Both ways work, and they're both different techniques. But whichever way you do it, it's fine. All right. So next, we're going to start working on the outer edge here. Okay. Now here's one thing to remember on this. We're going to add blue on here now. Okay. Now, anyone who knows their primary colors knows if you add blue and yellow, it makes green. Okay. So if you look in here, there is a little bit of green here. I was not intending on that. It looks fine though. All right. But if you start adding a lot of blue in here, it's going to turn the whole thing green. All right. So you want to kind of separate the blue with this yellow. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and switch brushes now. So I'm using a clean brush now. Just clean brush. I'm going to put the blue on it. Okay. blue, you want to put a little bit more blue. You don't have to do a lot though. So it looks about like this. With the blue, I'm just coming right up here, and I'm just adding the blue. Just making a line just like this. All right, you can come down here, add the blue. Making blue down here. You want it to go from dark to light to white. It's up to you, but I try and make mine pretty uniform. All right, some places they do it differently, which is fine. I'll put it off to the side or something. All right. Here we go. So there's the blue, okay? A little bit of this blue goes a long way. I have not used anywhere close to all my yellow or all my orange or anything, okay? So now I'm gonna go into my black. You go straight into your black, you don't have to clean your brush, okay? The black, the darkest parts are obviously out here, all right? Most of the blue is covered up, if you see. Okay, so you're going to start out here, up here in the corner, and this is going to be completely dark. All the way up here. You don't have to clean the brush, just keep on going with the dark. I usually cover all the way on the sides here, so that if you decide you want to do a frameless picture without a frame, it still looks good. You don't have any of these white parts showing. Let me bring this up. Down here now, same thing. Then you just want to start bringing this in, all right? I wouldn't add any more black now. Just start bringing it in. And just slowly, just start light, bring it lighter and lighter to where it's more of a fading into black instead of being definite lines. You really shouldn't be able to tell when this one starts and this one ends. See, I'm putting the black in here. Just go really light over into here. If it's streaky and everything else, that's fine. That's kind of the style of this picture. I'm gonna add a little bit more black, but I'm gonna not put a whole bunch on. I'm gonna put it in there and then tap it on my paper plate to take most of it out. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of orange on this, okay? just to kind of bring some of the orange. I didn't clean my brush or anything, so there's some orange on there now. I'm just going to kind of bring it up into here. Just add a little bit of orange. Just so it's not so dark, it kind of fades a little bit. You don't have to do this. If you're happy with the way yours is, that's fine. Just keep it there. Same thing, we're going to get a little bit of yellow. Again, not cleaning the brush. I'm just going to add just a couple little streaks up in here, just so that adds a little hint of something. A little bit down here, kind of mixes the yellow and the black and the orange. It's all kind of mixed together now, so that you have a little bit different shades. All right, I mixed a little bit of yellow, a little bit of orange. So it kind of looks like this. And like I said, you don't have to do this if you don't want. But this one now, it has a little bit of black, a little bit of orange, all right, kind of together. And it just kind of gives kind of a both of them. It adds a little bit of both. So I'm going more with a more rugged look, where it's not really super blended together. It's more individual streaks. But if you want to do yours blended, you might have to clean your brush, make sure it's clean and dry, and then you can go back and you can blend these in together, and it'll be more of a faint, it'll be more of a fading into it. This one's a little more rugged. Bring some of this up here. And you see now most of the blue has been eaten up by the paint, but it's still there. You still see it back there, okay? Still adds a little bit of a something. All right, let me step back a little bit so I can see this. Okay, do a little more right here. Right. Okay, that's pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add black again, just to dark. See, there's some white streaks in here I'm seeing. All right, I want this to be totally, completely dark. So I'm going to add more black. I'm just going to cover this up here. I did not clean my brush. There's a couple of yellow streaks, it's fine. All right, I'm just making this a lot more dark up top. So there's no question that's outer darkness out there. All right. If that's what you want to see it as. I'm leaving it pretty wet up here so I don't pull it off. Same thing up here. All right. Just like before, I'm going to blend it down a little bit. You can't really see a line of black. Okay? It's not really a definite line. It's more of a fade. Same thing down here. I want this to be completely dark. Over here on the corners, on the sides here, I'm going to do those black in case you want to do, if you want to hang it, you can do this without a frame or anything else. You just hang it just as is. And the sides being dark like this kind of adds a nice little texture, and then you don't have to buy a frame if you don't want a frame. All right, same thing. Switch sides now. All right. We can do the sides over here again too. I'm going to add some darkness right in here. I'm just going to fade these in a little bit so it's not such a strict darkness down here, so it kind of fades in a little bit. I'm not putting much pressure at all when I'm fading. All right, switch that again. Okay. A little bit more over here. Okay, that's pretty good right there. All right, so that is, you see the colors on here are a little bit different than the colors over here. And that's fine, that's good. You don't want to do an exact picture, all right? Make the picture your own, all right? So the next piece, all right? So we are pretty much done now with this part of it, all right? Now we're gonna focus on the manger right here, okay? So what we're gonna do first, we're gonna decide how much up here you're gonna make the manger, all right? If you want to have a low manger, that's fine. Do a low manger. I like to do mine right in the middle, right about there. Well, let's go a little lower, right about here. All right? Now, it's up to you, but what I'm going to do, I'm going to get some dark on here. You know what? Let's go a little lower. Let's go down here. I'm going to have my manger right here. Okay? So I'm just going to put just like this. I'm just going to make a line, just like that. Try and make it as straight as you can. If you want a rugged line, that's cool. Or if you just want a perfectly straight line, that's fine too. So I try not to go like this, back and forth. I try to set it on there and then just kind of bring it down. Go side by side, it sometimes takes the paint off of the canvas. All right, so if you see this, all right, you see, it's kind of hard to see here, but you see there's a little bit of light right here. Kind of like the light's reflecting off of the hay and then hitting it on here. It adds a little bit of interest to this. So let me put first let me put a little more dark. I'm going to go side to side now, just to get lots of darkness on here. Okay. Then, just like before, I'm gonna mix. I'm gonna put some yellow and some orange again, towards like a two-tone kind of thing. So it looks kind of like this, kind of a two-toned. Puts both on the brush. All right. I'm just going to go in here. I'm just going to put a little bit of just streaks. It's kind of like this. Just going to go back and forth like this. Switch it around maybe. All right, just to add the hint of a little bit of color down here. A little more yellow or orange. Doesn't need to be a lot, just something, so it's just a hint. It can be thick, it doesn't need to be all blended in and everything else. Okay, so I'm just gonna kind of wipe the rest of that off of there. All right, I'm not gonna clean it yet. Just gonna grab my paper towel, just gonna kind of go like this. Just to get the white, just to get the color off of there so only the dark's left. You know what, this looks a little crooked to me, so let me try and make this a little straighter. Okay, so this is pretty good. So if you look on this, you see there's a kind of a white line that kind of shows the light's hitting this part of the barn or the manger. Okay, so you go back to your your white brush that you were using before. You want to get light, you want to get some white, but you want it to be right on the edge of the brush. Let me try and show it to you. So I don't know if you can see that, but you want it to be right on the edge of the brush, all right? And you just kind of want to go in here, and right on the top of this, you just want to kind of touch. Just touch a little white line. Just like that. And you can go all the way to the edge. I'm not going to. I'm going to go right about there. All right? Same thing over here. Get a little more white. All right, you see this is a little different. This dark one comes in a little farther in, which is fine, okay? If you'd rather have that, then bring the dark in and bring a little darker in, okay? You don't have to, it's up to you. Okay, so that's pretty good. So we're gonna go ahead and build the manger now, right here. So all this is pretty much just a rectangle. All right, let's do that. Get a whole bunch of, get some black on the brush, all right? Start up here. Put the manger right here. There's that side. We'll put this side right about here. All right, doesn't necessarily have to be uniform. This little white right here, that's fine. Just cover it up. All right. Decide how high you want your manger to be. I'm gonna have mine be about right here. Just same thing, just bring it down. Just make a rectangle, just like this. Just make a rectangle. See how the white kind of bled in there? That's fine. Just grab it. Just bring it over. Maybe a little higher up here. If it's not an exact rectangle, it really doesn't matter, all right? This one, it kind of bows in here. So it kind of bows like that. So I think I'll do that on mine. I'm gonna bow that up, which just means this part's lower than this part. So I'm just gonna kind of bring it up a little bit. All right, just kind of put that one up and bring this one up. So it kind of bows a little bit. But you can do straight across, it's fine. Okay, so now we're gonna add a little bit of texture to this, okay? That's basically the manger right there. All right, with the texture, you're gonna put some on the edge of your brush. All right, and we're just gonna, I don't know if you can see this, you're just gonna touch it just like this. You're just gonna make little, just kind of go down like this. Right, that's kind of like represents the shadow of the hay that's on there. So you're going to go up here like this. Just kind of make it to break up the shape a little bit. Looks a little more interesting. Looks a little more like some kind of hay, okay? Same thing over here. All I'm doing, I'm just tapping it. That's it. That's all I'm doing. Just tapping it in there. Okay. Take some of this paint off by just going back and forth so it's not so wet. All right, so if you see here, see this little lump right here? That's supposed to be baby Jesus's head. So if you don't want to put it in there, that's fine. You don't have to. I'm going to put it in mine though. So just like it shows up there, it's just kind of something around right here. That's all you need. You don't have to show everything. That's it. That's it right there. I'm just going to add a little more of this texture kind of going out. Okay, so it's pretty good. It's pretty close. Okay, if you want to add more, add more. You want to make it a little bit different, that's fine. You know, it's up to you what shape you want. Okay, totally up to you. I like mine a little longer out here. It's pretty cool. Okay, so that's the manger. All right. So what I'm going to do now, we're going to add a little bit of highlights. This is the hay. Okay, we're going to add some highlights to this. I'm moving, I'm getting rid of this, the black brush. I'm going back to the white one. All right, let me use my paper towels. You see, I haven't cleaned any of my brushes yet, at all. I cleaned it a lot more last time. This time I just haven't. You don't really need to. You can just kind of get the paint off of there just by using the paper towel. All right, it's still on there. Okay, all we're going to do, I'm just going to get a little bit of yellow, okay? Just a little bit of yellow, not much. Now it's important on here, if you want to show the hay, that you don't cover the whole thing up with hay, all right? Because the only way that the light can show is if it shows through the darkness, okay? So if you put yellow all the way across there, it's just all going to be yellow. You want to leave some of this darkness in here so that it kind of gives the illusion of being hay or being something like that. So what you can do, a sec, get a little more on here. So it's about like this. It's not really wet. I don't have a lot on there. All right, and this is where you may have to thin down your paint a little bit, because one rule of painting is thick paint, okay, will not stick to a thin paint. All right, so I believe this yellow is a little bit thick, so I might have to thin it down a little bit. You just thin it down with a little bit of water and just thin it down, just a little bit, all right, just to thin it down. But let's see if it sticks. If it doesn't stick, what will happen is when you go to put it on, it will basically take the paint off of the canvas and onto your brush. All right, so let's go. I'm going to use kind of the edge, all right, and I'm just going to go here and I'm just going to kind of bring it down. The edge, I'm using this edge right here. I don't know if you can see that. And I'm just going to kind of, just like that. Just kind of bring it down. Just hints of hay. You don't have to, it doesn't have to be a lot. And see how it still shows the darkness. It still shows the shadow behind it. It is it's taking a little bit of this surface now. If you see, it's taking a lot of that black off there. And that's just because the paint's a little bit too thick. So I'm just going to add a little bit of water. So this is where I'm going to go ahead and clean the brush. I'm going to put just a little bit of water in there, not much. Just a little bit of water. I'm just going to use like a butter knife. I'm just going to mix it in. Just trying to thin it out a little bit. You don't have to do this. If yours is not sticking, or if yours is sticking, just keep on going. Okay, you try that. Once you've gotten it wet, make sure to get a paper towel and get the water out of it. Okay. Put a little more yellow on this. All right, so I'm just going to start up on top and just kind of bring it down. It's still too thick. I'll try a little bit over here. So I'm just kind of bringing it down like this, just little strokes. And really, it's just hints of color. You don't have to have a lot. You just want to make sure if the hay is going down, you want that's the direction that you want your strokes to be. So if you're having the hay go down like this, kind of like that one, then you kind of want the strokes to go down. All right. Looking okay. You can, they could be pretty thick coming off of there. Doesn't have to be really pretty nice strokes. It can be thick and off center. Because really, when you look at hay, it's not all evenly spaced and everything else. So if this isn't evenly spaced, it's fine. Okay, I'm going to add a little bit of white now, just a little bit. That's just, I'm dipping a little bit in, not cleaning the brush or nothing. I'm just going to add hints of white coming in here too. I'm kind of using the brush to make its own little, it's kind of cutting into the paint, so it's making a little bit of a hint. But it's adding texture by itself, just by adding the cutting into the paint. Adds texture to hay just by itself. And I'm using, to do that, just using the very edge of the brush. Okay. All right, last thing, I'm just going to add a little bit of orange in there as well. You don't have to, it's up to you. Just add little hints. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead. See this little halo right here? If you don't want a halo, you don't have to put a halo. I'm going to put a halo on mine though. I'm putting yellow. I'm not cleaning the brush, just doing a little bit of yellow. You're going to use the edge of it, just to kind of draw just a quick circle, and it goes right over his head. So we're just like, kind of like this. It's just to kind of give a hint of a halo. Okay. There's some dark in there, there's some light in there, it's fine. It's just to give a hint, all right? Let me add a little more down here, just because that's kind of showing up pretty strong. I'm just going to kind of blend these together a little bit. So if you look at this one and you look at this one, you see it's two completely different pictures. So that's fine. It doesn't have to be the same thing every time. You can change it up every time. It doesn't need to be an exact copy. Okay, so that's good. So really the last thing we're going to do for this is we're going to add this star up here. All right. So this one's important. You need this brush to be as clean as possible. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to clean the brush, get all the paint I can out of it. All right, once it's clean, once I've cleaned in the water, it's going to have a lot of water in it. I put it in the towel. I get as much water out of that as I can. Because of everything else, this is the one thing you want to have nothing but white in it. Unless you want your star to be yellow. You can do that too. It's up to you. All right, so the brush has been dried. All right, I'm going to go right into the white. This one's important because you want it to be pretty clean on the brush. You don't want it to be really caked on there. You want it to look kind of like this, kind of like that. All right, and the reason why, you want these edges to be pretty sharp. All right, and so we're going to start with the top. I don't know if you can see this, but the top of the star is going to be right here. Make sure we're trying to put it right in the middle. So you're just going to kind of touch the edge. All right, and I'm going to bring it down a little bit. Maybe if you bring it up and just let it go, just like this. Bring it up and let it go. Just so it's like a, okay, good. So there's the top of it. Add a little more. Again, make sure it's not caked on there. So you don't want it to be goopy on this one. This one needs to be pretty clean on the brush. All right, so about like that. Again, pretty clean on the brush. So if you look at this, the top part of the star is pretty short, and then it goes long down here. So same kind of thing. Start bringing down here, and just kind of go. I'm just touching the canvas. Okay, till you get down here, and about like that. All right, so we're just going to make add a little more paint. Gonna make a cross right here. All I'm doing, I'm just touching it and just touching it on there. All right, it's a little thick, that's okay. Then on this one, it goes side by side. You can do it right straight through. This one I'm going to do a little different. I'm going to bring it not quite touching the edge. That. All right, well, maybe I will. I'll just go all the way through. Okay? Make this a little thinner right here. Okay, so you got that. Then it's just you get more paint on there. You can just touch them if you want. Just touch them like this to make the little edges. Or what I'm going to do, I'm just going to push the very edge of the brush. All right, the very corner. I'm just going to kind of string it out, just like that. All right, and just kind of going off in all directions, kind of shows the light hitting, or shooting off the star. Bring it all the way down here. shining all the way down through here, even down into the white. Ooh, that was a little thick, but that's all right. All right, and that's pretty much a finished picture. You put a little more thick white right here. Just so that kind of shows up a little easier. All right, and the last thing, probably the most important part of the whole picture, is you just sign it. All right, so I'm just going to do my things. You do it right with the edge of this thing, or if you do have another paintbrush, they do work a little better. All right, I'm just going to sign this real quick, get most of the paint off. Just going to sign it right on the edge. Do it down here where it's kind of dry. The black is kind of dried up now. So you just sign it, just however you want to sign it. And with a little paintbrush, this is obviously easier, but this would be good enough. And that's a finished picture. Have a good night, ladies.